Hi, I'm Kirtorian with Astral Talk TV. In today's episode, we're going to talk about people's scary astral projection experiences. This whole astral travel experience thing is not for the faint of heart. You know, a lot of people can do it at will, and some people, they kind of do it accidentally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few videos of people's experiences, and I will be tagging all of the people down below. And to all the viewers who are watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
What had happened was I tried Blue Lotus. Let me show you. Right here. This is Blue Lotus. I rolled it up, and you know what that means. I went into a meditative state. So I was sitting on my floor, and I was leaning up against my couch. I had put my head back, and I closed my eyes, and I was just in a meditative state, right? In the midst, my body was just going into a numb state, and I was accepting it because I was like, okay, where we about to go? What's about to happen? So I was sitting down on the floor. I started to feel myself going into astral projection. I'm like, wow, Blue Lotus got me going like this. Okay. I wasn't even in my bed. I was like leaning up against my couch, sitting on the floor, and I just had my eyes closed. In the midst of me in my meditation, I could feel myself going into astral projection. Once you've done it like 3 times, you kind of know what it feels like when you're not sinking, when you're floating into that space. So I started to go through this tunnel, and it was like, a wormhole like type tunnel. I was seeing all different type of colors, and I was hearing different things. It sounded like white noise, and I was hearing that. And then when I went through the tunnel, was at this hospital, right? And I don't know, but everything looked so like different than regular hospitals. Okay, what is going on? So I'm looking, and I see, and she's in the hospital bed. I don't think they can see me because I'm in astral projection. I'm like, why in a hospital bed? And I'm, astral projecting. It's something going on in the physical realm. I'm nervous, and then I see her, about to give birth. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not in the present. I'm in the past. And I was just sitting there observing and watching everything, and all of a sudden, when I was in this hospital room, because I'm a soul just like watching and observing everything, right? I'm seeing lights flicker, and then all of a sudden these I don't know how to explain it, but they were definitely not human. So they looked like they were like assassins or ninjas, or not even ninjas, like they looked like they were military. And I'm like, what is the military doing here at birth? And none of the doctors who were there, they could not see these military people who were standing right there, right? I don't think they could see me because they didn't see me. They weren't looking at me or paying attention. So I was just quiet, and I was like, okay, let me cloak myself to make sure I'm not seen, because I'm like just watching everything. I'm like, why am I being shown this right now, right? So the doctor then takes my baby, they take him into another room, and these military people, they walk with him, and I'm like, just like basically like I'm in a movie, like I'm observing everything and I'm following like I'm a spy or something. And then I'm watching everything. They take him into this room, and the doctor like shapeshifts, and the doctor shapeshifts and turns into I don't even know how to explain it. These beings, they all look different. The doctor didn't have like a nose, but it was like alien skin, like a gray almost, and it was like a big old eyes. And this doctor, I think the gray alien could see the military men. Now these military men, they had this black box, and they handed it to the doctor, and I'm like, oh shit, the doctor can see the military man now. When they took him into this room, this is just where they go with the babies and stuff like that. And when they took they took into the room where the other babies were, and they kind of picked them up and took them into a separate room. And the doctor basically took the briefcase, and they opened it. It was like this syringe. They had basically shot something. It was like, it looked at something dark. It was like a dark substance into him as a baby. And I was like, oh my fucking God. And I was watching it. All of a sudden, I just heard sniffing. And then the doctor, all of the military men, it was like 7 of them, and they just started looking at me, and they saw me. And when I tell you, my heart dropped bad. I was scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I was supposed to see this. But then I was supposed to see it because I saw it. So then I automatically said, take me back to my body, take me back to my body. So then I kind of like get pulled, right? I get pulled right back, and then I went through the wormhole again. And then I'm laying down. I'm laying on the floor. Like I said, I was leaning up against the couch. So I was half sleep, half woke. And I was coming out of the astral projection. And I'm like, oh shit, I can't move my body. And all of a sudden, while I'm laying on the floor and leaning up against the couch and I have my eyes closed, well, my eyes is open, like I can see my room, but I'm not in the 3D realm yet. I'm still coming back to my body and I'm like kind of in a sleep paralysis state. So I'm like, oh. And then all of a sudden, I hear in my backyard, do, 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 like military SWAT team in my backyard. And it sounded like they were surrounding it sounded like they were surrounding the house. And I'm like, oh they must have followed me back here, right? So I'm like trying to hurry up and move out of my astral projection. But I'm like, okay, maybe it's a reason why I'm not actually back in the 3D realm, because I'm still hearing them surround the house. I'm like so freaking scared because I think it's actual police outside, you know, because it sounds clear as day, like it's police outside, the house is surrounded. I'm like, what is going on? And while I'm in this sleep paralysis, I had closed my eyes and I started to focus on the barrier that I had put around my house, because, you know, I do that type of stuff. I gotta make sure that I put my protections up, stay prayed up, make sure I put my barriers up and stuff, right? So as I'm in this state, I'm closing my eyes and I'm picturing me putting this barrier up, and I'm still hearing them, but they're getting farther and farther away, like they're getting farther away from the house. So for some reason, I'm able to move my body. So I'm like, fuck, okay, I'm back in the 3D. I go upstairs. I looked out my window. It's dark outside. So I couldn't see. And I'm like, okay, did they follow me back from when I went back in time? They followed me back to my house? How the hell is they able to do that? But when you think about it, the fact that I was able to go back in time and see birth and see what happened in the hospital when he was there, that just made me question the abilities of these beings who are causing corruption on this planet. What if these beings are able to go back in time as well and do certain stuff that messes with people's bloodlines? Because what I saw, I'm trying to figure out why I saw that. Why did I connect to that? And they followed me back to this present moment when I was on the floor and I heard them. They was on their way. It sounded like they was like coming towards the house, like do do do. You could hear footsteps, and it was like outside my window. So when I got up out of the sleep paralysis, I checked outside. I'm like, ain't nobody outside, because I actually thought it was police outside, but it wasn't. So then I went upstairs and I asked my sister, I'm like, did you hear what was outside? It was somebody outside in the backyard. And she was like, Kai, don't play with me right now. Don't play with me right now. Because it was just me, my sister, and my little brother. We was all in the house. And I'm asking her, I'm like, you didn't hear nobody in the backyard? I'm like trying to see if my dog's in the backyard. No, he's in the house. It's something in the backyard. And she was like, I can't do this right now with you. I cannot do this right now with you. I'm not involving in this. So she was just like, you tripping. You're tripping. I'm like, I know I'm not tripping. I am not tripping. I heard something in the backyard. So then I go into my little brother's room. I go in there to check on him. Like, I was just going upstairs to check on everybody, and I'm checking the house. And then, I put the barrier up again, and I just I start saging and I start praying, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? That astral projection experience, when you on that other side, you don't experience time. Time is not real. I'm a firm believer that the past, the present, and the future is all happening right now. So what I was seeing was probably the corruption that's going on with these chosen ones who come down here. And the hospitals are the first place where they are doing these injections and doing these, just putting our DNAs on lock. And it was a really wild experience for me. I'm like, what if they're actually doing this to these star seeds? As soon as they come, they trying to block their powers. Yeah, that was a very, very crazy experience.
I was in high school where I was just a sad boy. I was really emo and I saw no happiness in the world. So I was like, I want to get rid of this sadness, so I'm going to meditate on my emotions and try to remove them. This apparently was a bad idea, because this led me to having some really weird dreams. I remember one day I sat in the dark and I meditated on anger, and I brought up all the memories of anger, and I imagined that I was erasing them. And right after that meditation, I laid in bed and instantly passed out. The dream I had was absolutely terrifying. At the time, I slept in the basement of the house I was living in. In this dream, I woke up in a room that was upstairs in the house, and it looked more real than reality looks, and it was absolutely jarring. I woke up there and I was like, how did I get here? Did someone move me from the basement? I got up, the TV was running, so I got up to turn the TV off. Then I heard this crying coming from the hallway. It seemed like I was the only person in the house because there was no other sound coming from the house except for this crying. It sounded like a little girl crying. And I instantly got nervous because there are no little girls in the house that I lived in. So I moved toward this crying and I step out into the hallway, and in the hallway there's a bathroom. The bathroom that normally would have been there was actually another bedroom, and that really confused me because I absolutely thought this was real. 100% thought this was real because of how real things looked and how real they felt. When I looked into that bathroom, I saw a bed, and there were 2 little girls laying in the bed. One little girl was completely asleep, and the other little girl was writhing and shaking and knocking around and just having a crying fit. When I saw this, I was really apprehensive, but I wanted to know if she was okay, so I asked her, "Hey, are you okay?" And right when I ask her, the girl stops crying and sits up like she's a vampire out of a coffin. She sits straight up and turns her head to me in a second, and her eyes are absolutely black. Before I knew it, the girl hopped out of the bed, across the room, and lunged on top of me. And I don't know how, but this little girl lunged on top of me and got me to the ground and was wrestling me on the ground. And I had no idea what was going on. I'm sitting there, I was like, what's happening here? While we're wrestling each other on the ground, I noticed that her claws start to come out, and they're just like super long and super sharp. And the next thing you know, she starts to scream, and her jaw unhinges and stretches, and like the black of her eyes becomes like an abyss that I'm seeing into. And like her teeth are huge, and she's coming into me like she's about to just bite my head off. And I literally cannot stop this like 50-pound little girl, and like I immediately just start screaming because I'm gonna die. This seems totally real. And she comes right up to where she's about to just bite my neck off, and then she stops, turns back into a normal little girl, and says in a really weird, deep, demonic voice, "Is this what you want?" And the dream ends. I wake up like Wolverine out of bed and I'm sweating, and it's completely dark in the basement. Like, I left lights on, but it was totally dark. Fair to say, I never did that meditation ever again, or thought about doing what I did. I just left that alone. Now, I've had a lot of scary astral projection experiences, but this one is one of the scariest. There was one time where I went on a trip with a couple of friends, and we were staying in a hotel room, and while some of them went out, I decided to just stay and kind of take a nap. But before I did that, I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and astral project really quick, because I haven't astral projected in a little while. I was the only one in the hotel room, so I figured I had enough time to just chill. I go through the process, I astral project, and the moment I sit up out of my body, I see something else standing there, watching me. I had never had this sort of experience before in this much detail, but this specific entity was standing there, and it looked like just some random being, like some random person. I can't even really remember the details, aside from the fact that their eyes were huge and black, and they were just waiting for me. The moment I saw this, I was terrified. The energy emanating from this thing was absolutely horrifying. And the moment I became aware of it, it became aware of me, I guess, and it just pounced. There's a little trick I do when I astral project. If I want to get somewhere else really quickly, I keep a few places in mind that I can teleport to in the astral plane that just get me out of a certain area. One of those places was my old childhood home, and so I immediately teleported there when this thing started to come after me, and I was just there. And the moment I got there, I thought to myself, holy crap, there's something after me. I didn't want to just get back in my body because I was 100% convinced that that thing was really standing there in the astral waiting to bother me. So if I went back into my body, it would still be there. I kind of wanted to lead it away from me. For a moment, I thought everything was fine because my childhood home was perfectly fine. Nothing was changed. Everything seemed cool for a moment. So I stepped outside that house, started floating down the street, and the next thing you know, this darkness started to engulf everything I was seeing. It was daytime when I was projecting, and it looked like just night was closing in on me, and tendrils began to move out of this darkness, and I saw the same entity walking out of this like mist of shadow, and it was just like coming straight toward me. I have no idea why. but it was coming straight at me. And so I teleported somewhere else. I teleported to a park that I used to frequent when I was younger. And I took a second and I just thought about it. I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but I need to get out of here. I need to figure out what's going on. Just like the last time, within minutes, it showed up again. This time bringing with it a storm and bringing with it shadows and darkness. And there it was in the midst of it, walking toward me like a plague. This time I figured I've already run away twice and it still finds me. Whatever this entity is, I'm gonna have to fight it. And so I build up my energy and I like burst out this ray of light from my body and it does nothing. And so I just run straight at this thing, and the moment I get to it, it's like getting ready to jump off a cliff. Like I was running toward the edge of a cliff and I had no idea what was happening and I was horrified. But I came up, I got right up next to this thing, and like right when I clashed with it, I was back in my body and I was physically awake wrestling something. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the darkness in the room. And when I'd finally woken up enough, I just broke out of the sleep paralysis. And that was it. My theory on that entity is that I was dabbling with a few things that I should not have at the time, and I invited an entity in without actually knowing it, and it wasn't one that had my best interest in mind.
You know, those were some crazy stories. I mean, you know, everybody has a crazy astral travel story. And the best advice that I can give is that, hey, when we astral travel, the best thing we can do is to be as protected as we can, you know, because the thing about it is, and the fact of the matter is that when we astral travel, we really don't know where we're going to end up. We don't know what we're going to experience. The best thing that we can do is to navigate through it the best way we can. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.